Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts that get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on a Monday here on the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening. Thanks for making us a part of your evening. Roku, iHeartRadio, and all social media known to man. That's where you can like, follow, subscribe, and hit the bell button to keep you up to date on future and past shows. Really excited for what's to come. NFL season is right around the corner with training camps. I've got a lot to unpack from here, but I appreciate all of you guys for being here with us tonight because we've got so much in store for you guys here tonight. Chase is going to be joining us here just about a little later on. And, I started to think about this since the news eventually broke out, and this involving the Green Bay Packers, because we know that Jordan Love, he's up and coming with a contract negotiations. And as of right now, he's holding out. And you know what? I don't blame this whole entire thing. But Green Bay did announce, though, in their press conference that they are nearing and finalizing a deal for Jordan Love. So which quarterbacks did we see and did we know that ended up getting signed? So recently, Trevor Lawrence has gotten signed a contract, $55 million a year he's getting paid. Jared Goff in Detroit got a contract extension. He's getting paid upwards of $52, $53 a year. And so right now, Jordan Love is close to getting a contract extension. And then that leaves, once again, Tua and Dak. So the purpose of Jordan Love getting signed a contract extension for a few reasons. Number one is we saw with how he finished up in the second half of the season. The guy was truly phenomenal. And so we knew as a first-round pick, many people didn't quite trust or understand the pick when they ended up trading up to get a quarterback, because initially this entirety of this whole thing with Jordan Love at the time was it was surrounding Aaron Rodgers. So now Jordan Love comes into the picture, and many people didn't believe it at first with how he performed at the first half of the season. But by the second half, he was much, much better. The former first round 26 pick overall from Utah State, the kid is great. And I honestly do think he was very efficient. So last season, he had 4,159 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 picks, and he had a quarterback rating, and from both splits of home and away, was around the 90s ballpark. So at home, he's proven he's been a very good, efficient home quarterback. 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 97 passer rating, and he's at a completion percentage of 67. And then on the road, he's had 61% completions, and each of those he's averaging 7 yards a play. 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 94 passer rating. The kid's great. And there's a positive upside for Jordan Love and for the Packers. So we never really got a chance to see what his potential is because Aaron Rodgers, being Aaron Rodgers, knew that he was going to get a fat contract, knew that he was obviously going to be the starter of this franchise, and he has been for years. But then once Jordan Love came into the scene, sure, it made a lot of things uncomfortable. Of course it did. So Jordan Love now eligible for a contract extension, and rightfully so. I think if you're going to get an efficient quarterback that will give you exactly efficient passing, which he has, 64% completion last season. He has a quarterback rating of 96. So you got to give him top dollar money. Now, I'm not saying you got to completely break the bank on Jordan Love, but you got to pay him at least a really good, hefty contract. I think because of the way that the contracts now have been instilled for quarterbacks, the rating now for per year is about upwards of $50 million per year. That's kind of the norm right now. And Jordan Love, I'll be honest with you, I think he's worth the contract extension because you're not paying anybody outside of him anything. The wide receivers are young. The offensive line is young, and it's growing, and it's getting stronger, and they've added more offensive line throughout the draft. And then not to mention, too, the defense is younger. So there's a lot of positives for Green Bay. And Green Bay, they added Josh Jacobs to the running back room with A.J. Dillon retained. So why not go and pay a quarterback that you just seen how he performed and how he finished up at the second half of the season and how that this was really, really going to set the tone from here? Because as I kind of show you from here, all right, since the months of September, October, these were not great months for him. It wasn't. He had 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, was sacked 8 times in September. And then in October, he had 3 touchdowns, 5 picks. Both of those, he was in the completion percentages of just about subpar of 60. It was not great months. But in the months of November, December, and January, oh man, was he very efficient. 8 touchdowns, 2 picks. In November, 11 touchdowns, 1 pick in December, and then 2 touchdowns, no picks in January. That also includes the playoff game against the Cowboys. And his rating all the way through was in the hundreds. So he had to get a lot of those hard months from September and October off his shoulders. And then by the time November, December, and January happened, boy, was he a damn good quarterback. He looked a lot like a franchise quarterback in my eyes. So, and this is the thing, is that in the first halves, in first halves and second halves, he produces the same completion percentages in both of those. Only difference is second half, he throws more touchdowns and the picks kind of slightly went up, but the ratings were just about right there in the hundreds. So, like I said, the first half of the season was okay. But then the second half of the season, he really started to light it up. I know people are kind of concerned because the upward ballparks right now of contract extensions are about $50 million per year. So it's right around, $250 million range and all throughout it. So I think he's worth the contract. And the Packers, they're young. They're not paying anybody else outside of a couple positions because they're also young. They haven't been able to tap in and hit their peaks yet by year 2, year 3. So if you're the Packers, you're actually in good shape. Look at what the Vikings are doing. They're not paying their quarterback. They basically locked in Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and they've also added a couple of pieces, both offense and defense. So the Vikings are in this position, and I think the Packers are similarly with this. So go and pay Jordan Love. I think he's worth every penny you give him. I'm not saying that he's upwards of like a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen or multiple of them, but he can rise his stock up to that occasion. It's because we haven't been able to see him play enough because of Aaron Rodgers. But last year, in a full season, actually looked like a franchise quarterback. Very efficient, a guy that is capable of slinging the long ball, and he's also capable of spreading the ball around to a lot of his weapons. So I think Jordan Love is in good hands in Green Bay. Green Bay does not panic at all. And for at least a small market franchise, they know how to get free agents. They know how to draft well. And Brian Gutekunst, he just basically told you, we are not fully invested with Aaron Rodgers, even though we love Aaron, but we are not going to continuously cater with how Aaron Rodgers feels. We have to think about the future. You have to think about what's going to happen to the Packers at least in the next 5-8 years from now. So I think this is not something to be shocked about. They're going to get a deal done, and rightfully so. And I think the next question that asks is Dak and Tua. Those are the only two quarterbacks that will be left with a contract extension. So keep your eyes on it. I think it'll be interesting. So I want to basically talk about, because the WNBA has been blown up out of proportion. Nobody really knows, not even a lot of these sports analysts. And I don't think the WNBA really truthfully knows how to handle this with the emergence of Caitlin Clark, the emergence of Angel Reese, and so many other women in, the WNBA. Camila Cordoso, Cameron Brink, multiple other, women that have emerged from this draft, and even some of them who have came in before they arrived. Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, multiple others. I'm not saying that Caitlin Clark has basically trumped a lot of these players, because we know that these women can play. But what Caitlin Clark is doing right now at this big stage, and she's saying all the right things at the podium. She contributed to the WNBA team to beating the Olympic team. She obviously had 4 points, but that was not the case. She was an assist machine. But we can agree she definitely passed a whole lot. She passed more than I think we really kind of give it to her. I think there should have been some spurts, and in some spots, she probably would have been able to take more shots. But her shot efficiency was not there. So, and that's okay. But people, when we keep talking about the WNBA, and it's both a good and it's kind of both a curse here, because Caitlin Clark is everywhere. She's everywhere on our televisions, right? But the WNBA is everywhere up on our televisions. We just don't know really what to make of it. And again, I like the WNBA. I've been to an Aces game when they played the New York Liberty. And when I love just the atmosphere of basketball as a whole, you just got to respect the product and you got to respect the sport. Again, women's sports are totally different from men's sports, and we should all know that common sense wise, right? Because both sides, they all contribute very differently. And we all have stars on both those leagues. We got LeBron, we've got Anthony Edwards, we got Giannis, we got Jokic, we got Joel Embiid. We've got so many stars, Jimmy Butler, the list goes on, and Steph Curry. And again, we have the most deep roster with the U.S. men's basketball team. And I'll talk a little bit about that, and talking a little bit more about LeBron and what he really truthfully has meant to not even just the USA basketball team, but what he's contributing at his age, okay, which is most important. But Caitlin Clark, I know everybody basically says this response that basically says, like, why didn't this happen with any other player? Like, don't blow this completely out of proportion, okay? We knew that when Caitlin Clark came in, that was going to be the needle to move the WNBA. But the WNBA has built a lot of very, very good, productive players over the years. I mean, even at the time when Lisa Leslie was playing, Candace Parker, and so many other players that have come before Caitlin Clark. Caitlin's not going to take full credit to all of that because she's a rookie. So we have yet to see 5 years in with Caitlin Clark, but I think all of us have basically agreed that by the time she came in, she's moving the needle. Okay, this is the prime year of the WNBA. So can we stop blowing this up out of proportion and basically saying this and that, because there's race controversy involved. There's this, there's this competitive stature that's also up and involved. And it's because we do not know how to handle it. Let's handle it with a grain of salt and basically say, Caitlin Clark will be the future Steph Curry in the WNBA because of her shot efficiency. And she's already leading all WNBA rookies in many categories. Shot points, threes, and assists in many of those departments. Angel Reese is really good. Okay. And she's contributing to Chicago. And then you got Camila Cardoso as well. But then you also have Cameron Brink, who I think even on her, in her size and especially with her game and her play style, she's also very good too for the Sparks. So this is the golden age of the WNBA. Relax, guys. I like the WNBA. I enjoyed watching it. I watched it on television and I've also watched it in person at Michelob Ultra Arena. I absolutely loved the atmosphere because Vegas, of course, they are fully invested to all of their teams. I know this of my hometown. They're invested in the Golden Knights. They're invested in the Aces. I mean, it's kind of a toss-up, with the Raiders, but they still have season ticket holders at Allegiant Stadium. And that's what's the most important thing. So, again, take a deep breath. The WNBA is clearly not going anywhere. This is the golden age of the WNBA. And all we have to do is just embrace the product. Again, she's doing a lot of this stuff as a rookie, but it's telling you too, because this is the other note. The other note is Caitlin Clark is doing everybody a favor. She is getting a lot of these women paid the big bucks. Oh, and by the way, you can thank her for having the television deal, which is $2.2 billion for the next 11 years. That means the WNBA is going to be surrounded on a lot of major networks. People are finally going to start investing up into it. And you know what? Thank God they are. Because it's about that time, right? Let's embrace the product. Let's embrace the fact that not only is it just that Caitlin Clark is doing something for this sport, but all the women in the WNBA are. So take a deep breath. Don't blow this completely out of proportion and all the rest of this stuff. I'm sick and tired of just this, just all this stuff. Seriously, it's blown out of proportion. It's taken way over the top than when it needs to. And that's because the WNBA and the media do not know how to handle this thing. And that's okay. Take it what you will, but take a deep breath, take a step back, and just embrace the product. The WNBA is not going anywhere. It's going to be up in our major networks in sports. It's finally at the golden age and the peak that it should be. And you know what? Good for them. It's about that time. Because you know what? I'm all for new products basically getting the love that they should. As long as I know it's consistent, it's building up to its potential, and at the same time, I'm getting star athletes that are coming in out of college. So let's embrace it. Let's stop this whole controversial, all this other stuff that really doesn't need it. It really, really, really does not need it. I'm going to be talking about Bronny James. I did discuss about it in the past episodes, but I'll be talking about it about Bronny James and really kind of being honest and sincere about it, because I truthfully do think that Bronny now is starting to try to make a name for himself past the nepotism stuff. I think he's finally getting to that point. It took a bit, but we got to give him some credit. So, yeah, I just don't think media and many people know how to deal with the WNBA, and that's okay. I'll be fine with it. I'm not losing sleep over it. I love it. If I could watch Caitlin Clark and I could watch Kelsey Plum and I could watch Asia Wilson, I could watch Brianna Stewart and multiple others, and even at the time when we watched Sue Bird, or even beforehand with Lisa Leslie, I'll be okay. I'm not losing sleep over it. I'm embracing the product because that's what we need. Because the NBA draft was horrible. So at least the WNBA did us a favor here by basically giving us very, very good products to really look out for. Good stuff. I laid it all on the table today. Got everybody that, of course, is watching us on all of our social medias and also watching up on Roku and many, many other places. It's absolutely fantastic. So, yep, coming up next, I'm going to talk about LeBron James because you know what? They dodged a bullet against South Sudan. Now, the Olympics have not officially started. It comes up Friday. So get yourselves geared up and get yourselves ready because it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great time. We love it every time when the Olympics are on because that's when everything is all up on the line. So Paris, get ready. It's going to be fun. And I think this men's national team is so deep and this is fun. I really cannot wait for what the men's basketball team is going to do. It's just deep, but I will admit this is not going to be a cakewalk. All right, folks. So, by the way, just a shout out to my partners at BetUS because yours truthfully got gifted. Thanks to my partners at BetUS, I now have a free copy of College Football 25. I'm excited to play it. I cannot wait for it because many of my colleagues and many people I have spoken to said, Jake, it's worth it. So, but a shout out to our partners at BetUS because they are so good all the time when it comes to sports betting, when it comes to contests, and when it comes to giving me expertise and analysis that I need to know, that Chase and I need to know when it comes to sports betting. For the best expertises and for the best lines possible for straight or parlay leg bets, prop bets, because we know the NFL season is right up around the corner, guys. I'm excited for it, and you should be too, because training camp this week, it's going to be fun, energetic, and I cannot wait for it. But get yourselves ready to get into the action because the NFL season is primed and right around the corner. Baseball season still currently going on as we are reaching up to the hardcore second half of the season before we head into October. But we got the best lines. We've got the best expertise and strategy analysis as well to keep you on the edge of your game. Plus, there's also fun casino play for those of you who love poker, who love slots, who love blackjack, and many, many more of your favorite casino favorites. BetUS has been doing this for over 30 years, so give them a try. BetUS.com, $50 or more into your deposit. You will get 200% in bonuses and also 30 risk-free bets just by signing up and joining in. Check out BetUS for yourself. BetUS, where the game begins.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Listen up, sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
Check out the Con Man live on the Sports Corner, coming to a screen near you, giving you the greatest stories from basketball legends you've never seen before. Sharing their glory, building the toughness, and how they show off their swag. But only one man knows all that, and that's the Con Man. Join Michael Conceição, the Con Man, at the Sports Corner, Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific on Sportsway Network.
Welcome back, everybody, here up onto the show, the Snake Sports Talk Show, because I can't stop getting my face into your guys' televisions or onto your phones. I'm everywhere. I'm just that guy that just loves to be a little bit like Pokey Pokey. But hey, we're giving you the best in sports analysis and so much more. And of course, to all of our fans from here, appreciate everybody's love and support for the show. So, U.S. definitely dodged a bullet when they beat South Sudan, because ultimately it's a young team, right? It's a mixture of young and old. There's a lot of veterans that are up there. My thing with the men's basketball team, and again, they're very deep. So they're not going to have a problem striving for gold because they have an awful lot on their roster. And again, this team, in the last few years that we've seen this national team, like, it's been great. Our product has been very, very well. But can we say that kind of scared people a little bit? Oh, yeah, it did. It certainly did. And the thing about it is, what we're realizing is that the product is getting stronger and it's getting better as we go. But I felt like the U.S. team, they certainly did dodge a bullet against South Sudan, which they should have never have taken lightly. And I think that's what happened. They looked at South Sudan and they're just like, well, we don't really have to worry about this team at all. But not necessarily as easy as people think, because that almost became something that the U.S., it would have been a sour taste in their mouth, but that was a close call. You cannot deny, you can't deny that was a close call. It certainly was. But at least with this, because they beat Serbia, who definitely gives them some very good, solid competition. They ended up beating another one of their competitions, which in the last few years, even for Canada, they've actually had some pretty damn good players over the last few years. But just earlier, the U.S. team ended up beating Germany in London. So to kind of give you a spot from here, LeBron James is not playing around. At his age, at 39, getting up to 40 is remarkable. Now, he is going to be the flag bearer for when Friday comes around. But tonight was a really good night. So LeBron James is basically telling you that we need to have some grit in this day and age in the NBA and even for all major sports. Because for a lot of us youngsters, and for our millennials out there, we do tend to get very analytic and statistical, which I get it is trying to, they're trying to basically shut down any and all different debates when it comes to statistics. Because we want to be right, we want to basically be that kind. But the difference is that LeBron, with as many players as he has on this roster, I mean, you got Kevin Durant, you've got Steph Curry, and you've got multiple other veterans. But then the youngsters, you look at Anthony Edwards, you look at Jason Tatum, you look at a lot of other really good players. I really do wish that Jaylen Brown was on this roster, and I think that was so controversial. The fact that Derek White was voted before Jaylen Brown, I think was absolutely atrocious in my opinion, though I'm not going to take away anything of what Derek White has meant to the Celtics. But I do think there's a part of this that's controversial because of Nike. And Nike has always been such a controversial brand. It's what made people so uncomfortable with them when it came to buying their stuff. And you know what? Their stocks are still going to end up going up. Now, I do think that at a time they flunked on the Major League Baseball jerseys, which next year they're going to go back to that. They are not going to make that similar move again. And I think, honestly, you got to make the right call. And so for Jaylen Brown, he's like, you know what? I'm not even going to be a part of this team. It left a sour taste in his mouth. You got to eventually do the right thing from here. But at the same time, this USA basketball team, it is not going to be an easy cakewalk. Not going to. When you've got Canada, who are playing very well, you had South Sudan almost beat you until LeBron had to step in, and he kind of had to take the reins from here. So it's incredible. It's incredible the way that we've seen, men's basketball in the Olympic sport, how much it's definitely evolved over the years. But I do agree that, for a lot of youngsters, you got to buck up. I say this to a lot of people because in the end, you kind of have to get some grit. All right. If you truthfully want to know the definition of underdog, these are guys that are basically, they're looked past. The guys that even as much as they work hard, nobody even considers it. But make that a point that in this day and age, you kind of have to get a little gritty, because honestly, learn it from Philadelphia. Philadelphia is gritty on a daily basis. So they know how to keep their players, accountable. They also will let them know, you did something wrong, you're going to be heard. And you got to play better. You cannot afford to end up underachieving, and you cannot afford to basically be subpar. You have to play at your absolute best. That's why I think Bryce Harper loves it so much, because he loves being the underdog there. And I think at the same time, the fans are invested, and the fans care about the team. So you want to learn how to get gritty? Just go to Philadelphia. I mean, hell, I'd love to go to Philly to go and see a lot of my colleagues in my network, honestly. I really, really would. Because, number one, you better give me the best damn good cheesesteak, because you're Philadelphia. You should know how to end up making this. Number two, I better be going and catching a game, whether it's the Sixers, whether it's the Eagles, whether it's the Phillies or the Flyers. And I better hope I get a really good show from here, because I do not want to be disappointed. And that's usually how Philadelphia is. They do not like to be disappointed from here on out. So I'm excited about this. So I think the men's basketball team, they are in good hands, but this is not going to be an easy cakewalk from here. Time now for the news.
This is the Hot Press.
All right, so some news surrounding it. So just this past weekend, we had the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame induction. And of course, me living here in Denver, everybody has been amped up and excited that Mr. Rocky, Todd Helton, ended up making it. And so Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, Joe Mauer, and Jim Leyland have all been etched into Major League Baseball immortality. So Adrian Beltre, who finished his 21-year career with over 3,000 hits, 5 Gold Gloves at third base, was also enshrined with Joe Mauer, Todd Helton, and then, of course, the legendary manager Jim Leyland as well. So, interestingly enough, right? But to kind of break everything down, Beltre struck a playful tone with a lot of his remarks, which said maybe 25% improvised, and he was perhaps buoyed by Hall of Famer David Ortiz. But in the end, Beltre, he played for the Dodgers, Mariners, Red Sox, and Rangers, and is one of only 2 players to have over 3,000 hits, 400 homers, and at least 5 gold gloves. The other just so happened to have been the late, great Willie Mays, who was recognized for the speeches, and along with other Hall of Famers, Whitey Herzog, Brooks Robinson, and Orlando Cepeda. So, Adrian Beltre, I was very, very happy he ended up making it into the Hall of Fame. So was, Todd Helton, and even for Jim Leyland and Joe Mauer. I think many people have kind of discussed this. Why did Joe Mauer end up getting in over Jorge Posada? But the problem of it is because Posada was not as great at his position at catcher, respectfully. He was more known as the DH bat that kept the Yankees in a lot of games. For Joe Mauer, he was great at his position until all of a sudden, the injuries started to rack up and he had to change position going to first base. And so, at that point, it was fun and it was great. And, and honestly, when it came to Joe Mauer, you cannot deny that he played great at his position. From the arm, when it came to throwing to second, to gunning people out, to also the defense, when it came to having to block up and having to keep the ball in front of him, he was great at his position. Jim Leyland, I will say, was very, very gritty. Because this is a guy that had won a World Series with the Florida Marlins at the time. And he was highly recognized, at least for, his performances, and especially with his gritty managerial spots when it came to the Florida Marlins, Detroit Tigers, and then eventually to the World Baseball Classic with Team USA, when U.S. ended up winning the gold medal. And so, I think it was remarkable. I think it was great. I think this was a great Hall of Fame induction this past weekend. So I certainly was happy and impressed with it. It certainly has changed from what we got in the previous year with our Hall of Fame inductees. So I was glad that it was better than what it was. But yeah, it really, really interesting there. Okay, so this is interesting. So Warner Brothers Discovery. Okay, Warner Brothers Discovery, as you know, basically a part of Disney and all the rest of them. Warner Brothers is set to match Amazon Prime's offer for the NBA rights. So Turner Sports intends to continue its longtime relationship with the NBA. Warner Brothers Discovery informed the league Monday that it will match the $1.8 billion per year offer by Amazon Prime Video. Turner has had an NBA package since 1984, and games have been on TNT since the network launched in 1988. So the Warner Brothers Discovery, they had sat down and they were interviewed, and they basically said, we have reviewed the offers and matched one of them. This will allow fans to keep enjoying our unparalleled coverage, including the best live game productions in the industry and our iconic studio shows and talent, while building on our proven 40-year commitment for many more years. Our matching paperwork was submitted to the league today. We look forward to the NBA executing our new contract. This would be very, very pivotal for Warner Brothers Discovery if they cannot end up matching a deal from here, because for years and years and years, I loved watching the NBA on ABC and on TNT and many other of its big broadcast sports networks. So this is interesting. But at the same time, hopefully they can get this deal done, because I think this is very crucial, and I think that this is very pivotal. Because if you do not end up getting a deal done, it is insanity, because just Amazon Prime has just been all over the place. And they have been taken over for a lot of these different sports networks, for a lot of our major sports. We've got Thursday Night Football, which, by the way, many fans think Thursday Night Football sucks. Many players have actually spoke out and said they actually do love Thursday Night Football because it gives them an extra day's rest on the weekend so that they can spend time with family. But at the same time, too, I know a lot of these games, because players have got hurt, but what do you expect a lot of these star players to do? They're not supermen. They're not, invincible and all the rest of it. So calm down the machismo mindset, because players are human beings as well. They've got life, they've got a family, they've got stuff that they have to basically attend to, and they've got their health they have to keep accountable for themselves. So hopefully that this deal can get done, and I think it would be crucial if they lost this to Amazon Prime. A lot of fans and a lot of hard-working money will be changed over because of Amazon Prime. I think it would be interesting, but again, I'm not opposed to either or, but I would love for Warner Brothers Discovery to get a deal matched up, keep TNT networks on, because we love Shaq. We love Kenny the Jet. We love Ernie Johnson, and we love a lot of these great analysts who have been great personal, who have been iconic, personal, entertainment guys. They really, really have been the best at it. So, but I'll tell you, this will be quite a culture shock if a deal doesn't end up getting done with Warner Brothers. Whew. All right, that's going to do it here for the news.
This is the Hot Press.
So I started to think about this, and this was brought up on one of the comments, basically saying, how do I feel about, Bronny James and what the status of the Lakers is really going to end up looking like from here? So Bronny James, I could tell you one thing is, he is getting better each game he plays. So I know it was not a great look for him in the first game of this whole thing, with him being in the summer, in the summer leagues. But let's be honest here. We are not expecting Bronny James to be great like his dad, and we are not expecting him to basically trump over a lot of second, third year players that are coming in. But Bronny James is reminding us that, look, I'm not playing because of the nepotism. I am playing because I want to be the best version of myself. And you got to give him credit for that. Because after that atrocious first game, because why in the hell are we always holding a lot of these players to a high extent when it comes to this? Let's stop with the nepotism talk, okay? LeBron basically paved the way for Bronny James to be here in the NBA. And now he's here. And he's playing in the summer league. Okay? This was not a great player draft to begin with in the NBA. Alex Sarr is right now not looking great in summer leagues. Okay? A bunch of draft picks are not looking that great. Okay? So I'm not going to condemn Bronny James because we've had a horrible NBA draft. Okay? I'm not going to do that to him. But I think he is reminding us that he is getting better each game he plays. I also do think that he's going to grow into this sport because it's going to build toughness. It's going to build grit. It's also going to help with the shots as well, because the shots will come. But he's a very good defensive player. I also do think that he also is a facilitator when it comes to spreading the ball around, kind of create some pressure and really attack where the perimeter is at. And I do think that Bronny is really going to be like a rotational guy. He will be nothing more than just basically a rotational guy, because it's situation based. And it's also something that I think he'll grow into the more and more he continues to get reps. So let's slow down and let's stop with the nepotism talk, because at the end of the day, I think Bronny is going to be fine. He's going to be okay. I think, yes, having his dad there does play a role into a lot of just the nepotism, and it also plays a role into how he builds for the next up-and-coming future. But I do not think that we need to hold him to a higher extent, because the fact of, look at what the NBA draft gave us. Not a lot of these players are playing to high expectations right now. Alex Sarr, an international star, is not playing well. There's some struggles. There's some raised eyebrows and some question marks up there. So you got to give this thing time to cook. Seriously, because look, we are in such a caffeinated society that we want results right now. And I think a lot of that is because I kind of blame this a little bit up on Amazon. Sorry, Jeff Bezos, but I know with Amazon Prime, it comes in quick. I also do kind of blame this a little bit on, Grubhub or DoorDash and a lot of these, because we get our foods very easily. But that's how it is as we are in a caffeinated society. But sometimes we do not take a step back. We do not end up putting our foot behind and basically thinking about, well, how is this going to end up growing in about 5 years from now? We don't think like this a whole lot. I think we drink too much of the pumpkin spice coffee at Starbucks all the time, and we do not think about what this is going to look like 5 years, maybe more than that, come down the road. So I think Bronny's going to be fine. I do not think he's going to end up, I don't think he'll be more than a rotational player. In my opinion, I think he will be much different than any of the other players that we've had in this draft. But if he ends up winning Rookie of the Year, which I sincerely doubt, but people are definitely putting their chips in for this stuff, that would be very interesting. That would be worth talking about. That's content for weeks. So let's kind of slow down from there. I think Bronny will be fine. I think to an extent he'll be nothing more than a rotational player, and he's a great elite defender. But the shots and the points will come. And again, he's coming back from a heart injury that could have potentially ended that career very early. So the fact that he's doing this and a lot of things right now, I think is kind of building a lot of his reputation. And I also think he's selling his brand at the same time with this. So let's take a deep breath. Let's slow it down with the nepotism talk. I think he's going to get better in each game as he goes. But I'd be lying to you if I said that this road is not as difficult. Yes, it is difficult. Okay, you're playing with a lot of these players, both internationally and domestic, who are going to rough you up, who are going to smack talk you, and at the same time, they are going to make it so uncomfortable for you to actually get you out of your rhythm and out of your game. So let's slow it down. Let's take a deep breath. I think Bronny will be fine. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break from here. But I do want to discuss, because we know right now Brandon Aiyuk, his trade talks are still lingering around. There's a lot of things that are also coming up into the play. But I do want to discuss that if they do not get a deal done with Brandon Aiyuk, it should be no sweat to the San Francisco 49ers. So I'll explain a little bit about that coming up. But for those of you who are looking for your next purchase of your next ticket into your favorite sports team or your favorite artist, getting you closer up into the action, or you're looking for your favorite comedy shows and more, that's where SeatGeek comes into play. And SeatGeek has been the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. And by the way, SeatGeek has been so good to me when anytime I'm looking to go to my next concert, I'm looking to go to my next sporting event, because I do intend to eventually go into maybe some Colorado games to watch Deion Sanders and even to watch, Broncos play against the Chargers and many, many, many more. But I do intend to really attend a lot of these sporting events. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for it. But that's where SeatGeek really comes into the clutch. Now, if you get your tickets and before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS to save yourself $20 off of your first purchase of your first ticket, just by using the promo code as a way of thanking SeatGeek for being the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. So get the best seat in the house at the most affordable price, because we know inflation sucks, and that's where SeatGeek comes into the clutch. So do not lose your seat today with SeatGeek.
Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Snake Sports Talk Show is sponsored by Muscle Tech, with hundreds of supplements and vitamins to choose from, all packed with 100% all-natural proven ingredients. You can be sure that Muscle Tech will give you the edge and the boost to train and look like your fit and healthy best, whatever your goals are. Try Muscle Tech today and use promo code SNAKESPORTS to save 30% off your purchases.
Key Williams and Dante Criswell star in 7200 Seconds podcast Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Robert Lyle hosts Between the Lines podcast Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Oh, man, what a show that we have had here on a Monday night. I'm actually kind of excited for Wednesday because we do have a lot of guests that are going to be coming up onto the show. I'm stacked for Friday, and I'm excited about it. So the next 3 days, I'm off Tuesday. The next 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it is going to be nothing but insights, analysis, a lot of talks when it comes to a lot of these guests that we have in store for all of you guys. So, okay, so the Brandon Aiyuk trades, they're still heating up. And we know that the 49ers, they basically said that we have no intentions of trading Brandon Aiyuk. We love him. He's a part of our squad. We do not have any intentions of trading him away. But one of two outcomes is going to happen. And they've been through this before because they dealt with this with Deebo Samuel. Okay, when Deebo ended up complaining, because the whole conversation as to why he was voicing out is because he was running the football a lot. And he basically came out and said, like, look, I don't want to be the sole running back of this organization, because if I do, what happens if I get hurt? What happens by that point if I cannot end up performing at my best? I'm a wide receiver, and that's where I want to be at. So he spoke out, and then the trade rumors started to come around for Deebo. But then what ended up happening afterward? Deebo got a 3-year contract. Oh, and by the way, in that last season, he was running the football more often than he complained about. So it was not really that bad, was it? So with Brandon Aiyuk's situation, because he is a former first-round pick in 2020, in that stacked 2020 roster, like that entire draft class, because we definitely hit on a lot of them. But Brandon Aiyuk, as we've said before, I think he came into a situation where he was not the one. Okay, he was basically a 2. And what we've seen from his stats, because he basically took several strides forward. Now, in the last 2 seasons, from 22 and 23, he has averaged over 1,000 receiving yards, had 8 touchdowns and 7 touchdowns. Okay? But the 49ers are looking at this like he is not just the sole option of the 49ers for their offense. This offense is, in fact, built around with Kyle Shanahan's Deebo, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle type offense, because they love that 1970s or 1980s physical football. They like to get into your face. They like to play a lot of that smack talking and competition. So the 49ers are very gritty. So with Brandon Aiyuk in this situation, because the 49ers ended up addressing wide receiver in 2 of their draft picks. One of them was Ricky Pearsall from Florida, and then there was another receiver that they also really do like. So if they get a deal done with Brandon Ayuk, that just means that the 49ers, they are definitely hefty with their wide receiver room. That's the conversation, because you don't know what you're going to get with Ricky Pearsall. And then at the same time, Jawan Jennings, he has definitely showed up clutch in a lot of spots where he's used and he's needed. Because if you can't end up getting Deebo Samuel open, and then all of a sudden George Kittle's blocking more than he's receiving, but at the same time, if he's not getting any open looks, then you got Brandon Ayuk, who you're going to trust in a lot of those slot situations. So Brandon Ayuk, we know, is looking for a long-term contract. Okay, and that should be well noted and respected. Now, there are a bunch of teams that we know having the conversations and seeing the outlooks into what this team is looking at right now. There are a couple teams that are considered to be landing spots for a guy like Brandon Ayuk, because the odds stand is this: Pittsburgh's leading the way at plus 400 to land him. The Chargers are right behind them, which I kind of anticipate them making a move as long as the compensation is fair, and at the same time, they can provide a long-term contract, which I think they can. The Patriots are also there behind them at 450, and then there's the 49ers at 500. All the other teams that are behind them are the Cardinals, Commanders, Broncos, Cowboys, and then the rest of them up on the field. But the top four in the percentile are the Steelers, the Chargers, the Patriots, and the 49ers. So let's talk about a couple of these teams. If Brandon Ayuk was to be shipped to Pittsburgh, it's actually a pretty damn good deal. But they are going to want a pass rusher, because I think they want pass rush, they want offensive line, they want top round draft picks. I think you could definitely get a first round pick for Brandon Ayuk. Maybe a first, possibly a third, depending on it. Third, fourth round, because we have definitely found some hidden gems in the third, fourth rounds. So, but the Steelers, though, the Steelers are intriguing to me because they have a new quarterback in Russell Wilson. They definitely have a strong defensive front, and they did address offensive line. They got Troy Fautanu. They got a couple of other really good offensive linemen that hopefully can build into mesh, because lately Mike Tomlin has not figured out offensive line. So this could be a pretty good situation. Well, what about the Chargers? We have heard this lingering narrative with the Chargers that potentially Joey Bosa could reunite with his brother and end up playing on the opposite sides at the rush. So that could be an interesting conversation, where if the Chargers end up trading away Joey Bosa to the 49ers, and then they end up trading away a top round draft pick, then at least that opens the cap. It opens up financials to where the Chargers have Brandon Ayuk, and then eventually they could definitely ink him maybe to a substantial 3-4 year contract extension. That's what could happen. So it's quite possible. But I do think Brandon Ayuk wants to be in the top dollar range. But again, it's kind of difficult considering the situation that he's in as a number 2 receiver in San Francisco. Then there's the New England Patriots, which, to be honest with you, what assets do they got? You would basically pay him top dollar. Well, they've got a potentially a brand new franchise quarterback in Drake May. They do not have a whole lot of hefty, big name wide receivers. Like, they've got Kendrick Bourne, they got Juju Smith-Schuster, they got Jalen Polk, that rookie receiver from Washington. But not a whole lot of assets. So I highly doubt that the Patriots could be the destination. Because in the end, I don't know what I'm going to get with Gerard Mayo as the new head coach. It could be interesting, but I do not see that potentially moving forward. So the only team that I feel like makes sense is probably going to be the LA Chargers, because the Chargers have receivers. But then at the same time, you can potentially have Brandon Ayuk as a number 1 and a slash number 2, because depending on it, how Ladd McConkey builds, you do have DJ Chark, you do have Josh Palmer, which a lot of people are kind of sleeping on. But I've also heard this, that Quentin Johnston is starting as the 4th receiver on the depth chart. So he has to work his way and prove to the Chargers that he's not a bust of a pick. So there's a part where you could slide in Brandon Ayuk from there. Because if Quentin Johnston does not end up panning out at the end of it, then you're better off kind of cutting your losses. So I think this is a pretty good situation, if you ask me, when it comes to this stuff. So, but Brandon Ayuk, it'll be an interesting situation nonetheless. I think he definitely will get his money's worth, depending on whether he is a top dollar money receiver, will be left to be said. But I do think that if you are going into comfortable situations, because I know a lot of people are like, well, why would he end up leaving a championship caliber team? But this happens to athletes all the time. Okay, this happens all the time. It's not anything new. I mean, this is kind of what you would have expected at the end of the day. So I do not believe this is going to be as easy of a situation, because the Niners are smart enough that if they drafted 2 wide receivers, they're going to watch one, if not both of them, pop. So that gives the 49ers a bit of leverage. Now, if they don't, then that's where they're going to come back to the table with Brandon Ayuk and see exactly how things really do pan out and play out. Because again, Brock Purdy, since he came in, he really has elevated. He really has elevated Brandon Ayuk to an extent. He's used him in the right way possible. He has also given him a bunch of those options. So who knows if they're going to get a deal done? If they do, it's fine for the 49ers because they'll still be in great shape. But if they don't get a deal done, then the best that you could do is get yourselves players that can plug into spots that they need to, and then go and get yourself some compensated draft picks. That's the only way that will happen. And then Ayuk will get paid respectfully. He'll get a long-term contract somewhere else. But I think that's kind of the right thing that you should do. The 49ers are not panicking from here. I don't think they should. They're a smart franchise. They'll figure this out. And from what it sounds like, if they really are invested in Ricky Pearsall, and at the same time, you've got Debo, you got Juwan Jennings, you've got some options. So I do not expect them to be a struggling type of franchise that are in desperate need for a guy like Brandon Ayuk, even though it does help their causes with their offense. But I don't think they're going to walk into this thing as a desperate franchise. Whew. All right, folks, we are wrapping it up here tonight. Appreciate all of you guys for jumping on here with me tonight here on the show. The show is sponsored by BetUS and by CP. Check out BetUS for yourselves. Shout out to our partners there, because I've got a free copy of College Football 25 that I cannot wait to unwrap and get a chance to play, because this is content worthy. So, but check out BetUS for yourself when it comes to being on the edge of your game when it comes to sports betting, because I know I definitely am going to be. Sports betting is definitely going to be around the corner, especially with the NFL in mind, with training camps and with the season coming up around the corner. So check out BetUS for yourself, BetUS where the game begins, and SeatGeek for the best seat at the most affordable price for your next event. Using promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off of your first purchase of your first ticket, so you can experience and see why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app. Go online or download it on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. It's going to do it here for me, guys. Have a great night. We will see you guys and pick things up on a Wednesday here on the Snake Sports Talk Show. See you later, guys. Take care of one another.